I have a bad news. As always, there are bad news and good news. This video, the live training, obviously, is for people who are not in the United States. So if you are outside the United States and if you are interested in becoming a truck dispatcher or maybe you're a kid, you're running your business outside the United States, and maybe you are already working as an independent freight dispatcher overseas, not being in the United States, this will change your business, obviously, for, I'm not going to say forever, but these are the biggest changes that are coming your way. And this is one of the reasons why I specifically decided to do this live training. It's early in the morning in the United States. I'm outside the United States right now. Because specifically for people who are not in the United States right now is kind of waking up. It's morning. But then people all around the world who are interested in freight dispatching, being a broker, maybe running their businesses already um, from overseas. I did a live training last week that DAT has changed. There's major changes. Now, basically, in a simple way explaining, DAT load boards not available anymore other people around the world. So basically, US citizens, think about that way. US citizens now have access to load boards. Everybody else, it's gone. So I received an email from DAT last night. I confirmed a couple of times already. I asked this question like, okay, are there some alternatives? Like, is there a way so people can access the DAT so that they can run their businesses? No. DAT is gone if you are not in the US. So maybe you're using some type of, I don't know, strategy. I don't. Please don't email me. There are a lot of emails since last um, the DAT training that I did. A lot of people email me saying, "Oh, I have this strategy. I will be using this. I will be using VPN or these types of VPN, that type of VPN." Guys, it's not going to work. So basically, you're exposing yourself in a bad way, saying, "Hey, DAT, you prohibited, denying access for us, and we will be using, this strategy or that strategy in order to access the load board." Guys, load board is gone. DAT, if you're not in the United States, if you're not a US citizen, the load board is gone. Just accept. I have some good news for you. If you stick with me, I have some alternatives. I'll be sharing some other strategies and tactics, how you go about it. But this is not for people who are in the United States right now, running their businesses. If you are in the United States watching right now, you're good to go. DAT load board specific or DAT load board specifically designed for US customers. Why? Because United States or the trucking industry is specifically for the United States, right? So it makes sense for the United States, I mean, for the DAT to give access people who live in the United States. So it's a US market and people will be serving who are in the United States. We got that. So if you're in the United States, you're good to go. If you're a US citizen, you're good to go. If you are a US citizen like me, and if you are abroad, traveling, living, doing whatever you do for business purposes, for living, anything, if you're outside, you can still have access. But if there's something happening, like you want to log in and if there's access denied and you're a US citizen, you can call DAT, email DAT, and say, "Hey, listen, I'm traveling. I want to access my DAT." And obviously, if you should have, let's say, if you have access to load board and you are a US citizen, and now let's say currently you're traveling, but you already have access. But then when you log in from a different computer, obviously the API, whatever, and then they will just deny access. But then you will send email saying, "Hey, I will be running my business for 2 months, 3 months from X, Y, and Z country. Please give me access." And then they will just run some background check. Oh, okay. So you have like physical address, you are a US citizen, okay, we'll give you an access, then you're good to go. But I do see there's some questions coming. Please let them coming in. Please have your questions. I'll be answering your questions. I'll go in a minute, I'll be sharing with you some strategies and other tactics how we can go about it. But these strategies, methods, tactics, call it whatever you want, these for people who are outside the United States. Now, the problem is for independent freight dispatchers, including my students all over the world, you guys been emailing me. I'm trying my best to help you. Load board is gone. But if you have access, unfortunately, they will close or block your account and then you won't have access anymore. So the compliance team working on it constantly. They're adding team members wherever. They have set some strategies to just like close the gates and have just access to people in the United States. So outside world cannot access the load board. But I had a conversation with one of my students. She very frustrated, obviously. This is obvious. But then she says, well, that's end for me. I had a lot of American carriers. I think she had about 16 carriers. Now I don't know how should I go about it. Well, listen, load board is gone. I got it. But then you have carriers that you're running, like serving them. But there are some alternatives. I'll give you an example. If you're working with a carrier, ask a carrier, say, hey, I need an access to your load board. So my load board access is gone. That's one way going about this. The second way is, well, if DAT is no longer giving you access, do you have other choices, like other load boards, right? Just do your search. Think about there, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever the load board is, right? There's some other load boards out there, the major load boards out there. Can you use that load board? Like if you have carriers, it's easy for you. Yes, it is a challenge. Now, load board is gone. Maybe 90% of the time you've been running your business through the DAT load board. Now it's gone. I got it. But then I think this also, for me and for everybody who like outside the United States, we need to learn the lesson. One of the lessons, this is very important, is that we must have a list. What is a list? This is a list of customers, like list of carriers, list of brokers, list of shippers. Okay, I got that. Some people get confused saying that, hey, Kamal, don't teach people if they are independent freight dispatchers, go and connect carriers with the shippers. I never said that. It's wrong. It's illegal in the United States that independent freight dispatchers connect carriers with the shippers. No, you cannot do that. Brokers, yes, they can do that. They connect carriers and shippers. But when I say you need to have a shippers list, I'm assuming that you have a carrier, right? You have a carrier and then you use your carrier and you just connect with direct shippers. Load boards, some people may get confused. I don't know. If you're in the United States, you know this ins and outs of these load boards, how they function, what's the purpose of it. Think about load board is basically a platform for brokers. That's it. Like this is for brokers. That's a broker's tool. Yes, it's easy for you to just go there and then, type origin Atlanta, destination is Houston, or whatever the destination you might have. But think about it, it's a load board. This is the platform for brokers. But if you're running your business, I'm not saying for the newbies or if you're just starting, I think this should be a good lesson for you that you start building your list from day one. List being like brokers. Do you have a broker's list? I have a broker's list. If you serve your carriers, do you have your broker's list? So now load board is gone, but can you email to your brokers saying, hey, I have carriers, I have, let's say, trucks available in this region? No. If you're an independent freight dispatcher and you don't have a list of brokers, now second option will be, can you ask your carriers, say, hey, you've been working in the past with X, Y, and Z brokers. Do you have a list of brokers that I can communicate with them? Can I just email to them? If you don't have carriers, if you're a newbie, if you're just starting out, if you don't have carriers yet, but can you use your social media platforms to connect with brokers? Can you do a lead gen using internet, search for freight brokers? Let me give you an example. I think example will help you. Think about if you are maybe you are in India, you are in Pakistan, you are in Bangladesh, you are in Ukraine, you are in Canada, you are whatever, in Turkey, in Greece, whatever. What you do, what you must do in order to connect with brokers, you pick a region. United States is huge, right? You pick a region. Pick a southeast region. Southeast meaning Tennessee, we have North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and we have Alabama, Mississippi, for example, right? Tennessee. Think about these states. Pick that region, southeast region of the United States. Just pick that region and do some research. Like run. It's a basic. When I say sometimes I say like market research, people get people take this very seriously. Market research. I don't know how to do market research. Like I'm not a researcher, but in a simple words, basically go to Google, just type freight brokers in Georgia, freight brokers in Southeast region, for example, right? Search. And there you go. Now you have a list of brokers, right? Basically, like think about Excel spreadsheet and put like, okay, company name, the CEO name or the broker's name or the brokerage company name, the email address, the phone number, whatever, right? Do for Georgia, you will have hundreds of freight brokers located in Georgia. Do for Tennessee next day, next week. Do for Tennessee, you will have a lot of hundreds of thousands of list of brokers in Southeast region. Think about if 10% of those freight brokers agree to work with you, basically saying, hey, I have carriers or I'm an independent freight dispatcher. I'll be working with carriers for newbies. If you don't have carriers, they will be more than happy to work with you because they have freight, like loads, must move, and you will be helping them to move the freight. Think about it that way. I totally get it. A lot of newbies, maybe if you're outside the United States and if you're thinking like, I don't know how to approach them in a very basic, simple language. You are an independent freight dispatcher and you are going to connect these freight brokers with the carriers and you want to work with them. And if you don't have access to just one load board, so if you have access to other load boards, then it's, well, more power to you. It's good. But what I'm trying to say is that if the DAT was specifically for internationals, right? Not people in the United States. This for the United States, you guys fine, everything's good, nothing changed, awesome. So for these people who are outside, they've been running their businesses, they depended on the DAT. And by the way, the team that I work with, the DAT, they realize this. They know that other people around the world, they've been using this platform and they're feeding their families. They know that. They go sad about this as well. They're like, they don't want to do that. But then compliance team is like, listen, there are a lot of people in other countries, they harm, they do X, Y, and Z to the company. We need to safeguard, we need to protect our business because these people attacking some people, there's some bad people out there, right? So because of that, they unfortunately, they must do this. Now, DAT is gone. Just accept that it's gone. Now alternatives. One alternative is to get the carrier. Think about if you're in the United States, you must get a carrier. If you are a freight dispatcher, if you're interested in becoming independent freight dispatcher, you need to find a carrier anyway. Now, that's a freight dispatcher. So if you're a carrier, you have no problem. You have MC, you have DOT. This is specifically for US citizens. You have no problem. Carriers, brokers, no problem. But then independent freight dispatchers, they always struggle, right? If you are independent freight dispatcher or a freight dispatcher, any type of dispatcher working for carriers, serving carriers in the United States, you must have a carrier. That's one of the requirements from DAT. Even if you are in the United States, you have some challenges too. You must get a carrier. Then, if for international, for people outside the United States, you as well, you must have a carrier anyway. Now, okay, DAT is gone for you. You just accept and move on. If you are a business owner or you wanted to become an business owner, then you must be ready for the changes, right? So DAT gone, then what's next? Number one thing is get the carrier. Get a carrier or carriers on board. How? Well, you can ask me questions if I don't know, you're not asking questions and I don't know like what are your struggles. So if you're not asking questions, I'm assuming that everything's fine with you. Like just tell me like I'm doing this, I had this, I lost this, I gained this. I want to do X, Y, and Z. Can you help me with that? Well, I'll share some of the strategies with you and then you'll get to go. For example, universe mastery. Let me take this. What if there's no American citizens so we can access DAT and there's some alternative for DAT to work? Okay, what if there is no American citizen? That means you're not an American citizen, right? So we can access to DAT. So how we can access the DAT? Well, if you're not a US citizen, then you cannot access the DAT. But if you're in the United States right now, and I don't know, if maybe you're not a citizen yet, you will become a citizen, then you will have access anyway, because you will be accessing the load board in like from United States, like you are inside the United States, right? So you will access, you'll have no problem. So if we cannot for some reasons, then what are the alternatives? What I'm saying right now is the alternative. One of the alternatives, one is get a carrier. Then if you don't know how to get a carrier, then ask me. I'll do my best to help you. Then second, obviously join. I do see people do this and they're like successful with this. Join broker, like Facebook groups for brokers. I get that. A lot of people, when I mentioned this a couple months ago, I got a lot of emails saying, oh, it's not working. We joined, I don't know, hundreds of groups for brokers. They're not even paying attention. It's I don't know, it's not a good strategy. I don't think so. A lot of people doing exactly the same thing, but then approach is different. If you're not giving any value to anybody, they won't listen. Most people, what they do is they're askers. Like what that means is that basically, I came up with this term is like they asking, give me, give me. Like I need a freight, I need carriers. Like, okay, what about me? Like I will give you, but then what I'm getting in return, right? Think about United States is um, think about capitalism, right? It's all about like exchange. Like if I'm giving you one thing, what am I getting in return? This is the game, guys. If you're outside the United States, you must learn this. Like I've been living in the United States for about 20 years now, and I get that. So there is something in return, right? There is a phrase, I don't know the quote, is there is no such a thing, something for nothing. There always should be something that you're giving in return and you're getting something in value back. If you need to work with a broker, so what are your strategies? Like first of all, how do you approach them? You join a broker. Let's say there is a huge, I don't know, I think it's about 120,000 members inside. They're brokers, right? Brokers, carriers, freight dispatchers, shippers, all together. I think it's 120,000. Can't remember on top of my head what the group name is, but then there are a lot of people, a lot of engagements. Think about how do you approach? Like if this is the strategy, join the group, right? And how do you approach broker so that broker gives you whatever he has or she has? If you're like, hey, I'm independent freight dispatcher, I need, well, yes, that's the basic way of just explaining to you, saying that this is what you need to do. But then obviously there's like step-by-step process to approach a freight dispatcher, I mean the freight broker, and say, hey, I have carriers. If you have one, if you don't, then hey, I will be connecting you with carriers, but I need to access the load. So, do you have a website? Can I send my paperwork or anything like that? Right. But I'll give you an example. Think about if you are a freight dispatcher and you're using a carrier. See how am I doing this? Like you are a freight dispatcher and you're using carrier, going to a freight dispatcher, saying, I mean, to a shipper saying, hey, we need your freight. Will that work? Well, just to illustrate how this is done, well, you must have a carrier. Then you need to go to a shipper saying, hey, you have a freight. I have my carrier. Well, you're approaching the shipper, first of all, as a carrier, because independent freight dispatchers, as I said earlier, it's illegal to approach them directly as an independent freight dispatcher. That's big no, right? You don't have a broker's MC number and you can't connect these two parties. Okay. Now, using the carrier, and you're talking to shipper like as if you are a carrier and you're representing a carrier, but you are a carrier, and you're saying, hey, we want to move your freight. Well, that's the idea, right? But then what will be the, let's say, step-by-step process? Obviously, there is a process, and there's a different process to different shippers and suppliers. If you're moving lumber, for example, right? And you have a carrier, and he is in the flatbed market, and he has a flatbed trailers, and you're like, okay, I will approach distribution centers. Think about plywood supplies and whatever. You just go to them and say, hey, I want to just move your freight. Well, they will say, no, thank you. Like we have carriers, just move on. No, there is a professional way. What I'm trying to say is that it's possible, but if you join Facebook groups for brokers, it works. That's the method, right? That's the idea. But then how you approach, that's the game changer, right? Many people, what I see, and I see I'm a member of many groups. When I join the groups, I do see that they pop up like mushrooms. They will just ask, hey, I'm an independent freight dispatcher. I'm like X, Y, and Z. Like, let's connect. Let's do. Well, who cares? Like, literally, guys. Like, let's be honest. Who cares who you are? Like, millions of billions of people accessing Facebook. They don't know anything about you. I have one of my students from overseas, and I said, okay, so you approaching these people, do you have a website? Like, what if this person just goes and do some little bit of a research on you? And what if I'm a freight broker and I want to do some research on you? If I do some diggings, let's say, what I will find. Like, I literally go to her Facebook. Maybe she's watching right now. Just like, okay, I'm going to your Facebook profile. What I see, there's a cat. Like, this is true. And this person kind of hiding behind the internet, there's a cat on the like a profile image, and she is part of the like biggest groups for the freight brokers, and she's like, let's connect. Like, I would do, first of all, like, go and just optimize your Facebook profile. That's the number one thing. Have a professional or professionally taken, let's say, image, and put your image out there. If you don't want to show your face, then maybe you have your company logo. If you don't have a company logo, you must come up with a company logo. You must have a company, right? If you don't want to show your face, I don't know. I think it will be tough for you because people will work and connect with people, not with cats or any other things, for example. Think about that. First, just optimize your Facebook group. Have your first name, last name, good, image, whatever, and put some links for your social media like Instagram and whatever, right? Think what you do. For example, I help carriers do X, Y, and Z. Like I help freight brokers do X, Y, and Z. So people see when they go to your profile and that, oh wow, okay, I think I can do something with, or I can do some business with this person. And think about, if I'm a freight broker, I just click. There's two types of person, right? Person A, person B. I'm in the Facebook group, 120,000 freight brokers. They have ton of freight to move, and I must move my freight, like loads. And I see the message popped up or the comment saying, "Hey, Kamal, I want to work with you. I'm a freight dispatcher. I'm from X, Y, and Z country." Anything. And I was like, okay, well, interesting. Let me click. Like if I click, and what I see, person A and person B. Person A, I see there's a cat, dog, anything, forest, some other things on the Facebook profile. Not active. Last post was shared about 4 years ago or 10 years ago, for example. Nothing happening. Then I go to a person B and I click and I see person professionally taking photo or maybe with like a selfie with your phone. Like I see your face, I connect with you, and I see that you work, like you're interested in trucking some way. You posted yesterday, today, whatever, like a week ago, something about trucking. I do see you're interested in trucking. I do see you are posting something. Think about, if you're not doing that, if you're not even posting anything, it's not going to work. I'm telling you, I'm like dead serious. It's not going to work. When I was doing like independent freight dispatching myself, I was like posting every single day, 2 times per day, 3 times per day. I ran some, groups. I know that if you're looking for a carrier, same thing. If you're not active on social media, then nobody cares. Like nobody will trust. That's the reality. We must use Instagram, YouTube. Like, do you see how I connect with you? Like you're watching right now. Maybe I'm streamlining into my group, Facebook group, and then YouTube. Maybe majority of you guys watching YouTube right now. That's how I connect with the audience, saying this is how I help, right? So if you're not posting, for example, I did a live training, for example, about 5 years ago, and there is a carrier like interested and wanted to work with me, and like searching and see that there is a social media channel or the YouTube channel. Just go there and he sees that, oh wow, it's 5 years ago. Nobody will email me or call me or comment or anything. Like maybe I'm dead. I don't exist anymore. Like up to date is the key, guys. Like number one thing, optimize your social media today. Right after this, if you're international, maybe if you are in the United States, social media is everything right now, and we know that, right? We sit in it. Like you're watching YouTube right now. Like maybe you will be watching more videos after this. You will be on TikTok. You will be on Facebook. You will be on Instagram. But guys, we are consumers. Well, like maybe I can say that I'm a producer as well. Like I produce something, right? But then you guys consume, right? Think about, like I'm always consuming and I'm not producing anything. Like I'm always consuming. We need to produce, we need to post, we need to do like live training. YouTube is killing right now. YouTube, TikTok is killing right now. If you're a freight dispatcher, if you have access to TikTok, have TikTok account. A lot of my students, they were killing it with TikTok. Any country, if you have access to TikTok, I know that some other countries, they don't, for example, Uzbekistan, they don't have TikTok, but they have Instagram. Use Instagram to connect with people. A lot of carriers, they use Instagram. They're on social media. A lot of people have access to Facebook. Use Facebook. A lot of people have access to YouTube. Do some live, like post anything that related to trucking so people can connect. Then second important thing is we must have websites. Guys, a lot of people just go and click on links and just checking on you to see if you're legit, right? I see a lot of questions coming, but then the number one is get a carrier. And the second, I have a Facebook groups for brokers, join them. And I'm assuming that you have a method to connect with them. right? Like the strategy, the right strategy. If you don't, ask me. We'll create some. We can do live training and we're working on it. There are a lot of tools, specifically AI, artificial intelligence. Right now, it's killing it. You heard about this Chat GPT. There are a lot of, the tools like a Chat GPT coming up, and you can use artificial intelligence to help you. For example, create a Facebook the post, create an email, write in conversational style or storytelling style, whatever. And then AI will help you to do that. If you don't know how to write, use AI, artificial intelligence, right? So, and obviously, I have marketing your services using social media. We talked about this: Instagram, TikTok. Be there. I'm not saying that you must be like on every platform. Some of you may be using Twitter, for example. There are a lot of students that they're using Twitter, LinkedIn, for example, right? Think about it. And I also have FMCSA website. Go there. There are a lot of brokers. Connect. But again, I'm giving you idea, but I'm not saying that like there is a specific like step by step strategy. We can talk about this, but then it will be like long training. If you want me to do that, I will. I have no problem doing that. But I need to see that you are engaged, you're listening, and you are interested in the topic, and ask me, and I'll do my best to help you. And then obviously, platforms like DAT for the specifically for people who are in the United States. But if you're outside, you don't have this tool anymore. But then there are a lot of platforms, load board platforms for brokers. Think about when you think about load boards. First thing should come up to your mind, not afraid, but the broker. That because those are the brokers' platforms. Okay, and I think I will share these to the end, the alternative load boards for independent freight dispatch if you're outside. Let me start taking a couple of questions. I do see you have Regina. I think you asked a question, but then I'll just jump into and answer your question already. Alternatives would be the alternative load boards, 1, 2, 3 load board and Truckstop. There are other load boards as well. I think Get Loaded, another one. There are a lot of load boards coming up, but then the biggest this is what I would recommend. There are a lot of brokers, JB Hunt, for example. They have their own load boards, so you can access no problem, right? Just contact them and say, "Hey, I'm a freight dispatcher. I will be bringing my carriers, or I will bring carriers, and I'm a freight dispatcher." They might give you a job. Like uh, I have a couple of students that they became freight agents. They started as a freight, like they started as independent freight dispatchers, but then they became freight agents for the brokers. It can happen. So if you're in the trucking, in the transportation as a whole, and you want to make money, there are a lot of alternatives that you can leverage. Okay, let me have this. Zuzi, find a carrier. Tell me how to buy a load board for you under his MC. Buying a load board for me. Okay. So if you have a carrier, your carrier will have MC number, what we call MC number. MC number stands for motor carrier. So if you have a carrier and he says, I have an MC number, but it's not active, that means it's not working yet. I'm using simple language to explain this because a lot of people, I realize that they're just newbies. MC number stands for motor carrier. That's the number that must be activated by attaching the insurance. So if a carrier doesn't have insurance policy, basically this carrier is not allowed to move freight because no insurance. Brokers will not give or assign any loads to a carrier that doesn't have insurance. If you don't have an insurance or your carrier doesn't have an insurance, he is a carrier, but he's not active. So if he's a carrier and he's active, that means he has an MC number. So then if he has an active MC number, and if he doesn't have a load board, work with him and say, hey, I will have, or just buy a subscription, or help him get a subscription to a load board, use his company, right? Now he is, as a US citizen or in the United States, will have access and it will give you the access. But then there is a challenge that if you're outside the United States and DAT realizes that you're outside the United States, they may block you, right? They say, okay, we see that this API, like IP address belongs to X, Y, and Z country, for example. No, it's no, no, we will close this. Then you need to contact DAT saying that I have a carrier, but then he isn't in the United States, but I work for him and try to work around. That's specifically for DAT. So if you have other load boards, I don't think you will have issue. But this we talk about specifically for DAT. If they deny access, we have nothing to do. You lost, you lost. So you just move on, like, you know, get a carrier and work with his brokers, for example. That is one way of doing it. Let me take this. Hi, is it still possible to start the business? I've been told that the trucking business is not that good right now. Well, that's true. That's true. And when you say start the business, what do you specifically mean? Do you mean independent freight dispatching business, or do you mean starting a trucking business? Trucking business, the reason why I'm asking is because trucking business is, yes, it's brutally competitive. It's not for everybody. You will see if you go to like any videos and you just read on comments, and please comment and just engage. And I'm there. I'm asking like questions and at the same time answering your questions as well. But think about there are a lot of people talk about this. If the person is long enough survived in the trucking industry, what they will say is that trucking is not for everybody. Yes, it's brutally competitive, not for everybody. Like if you're in like thinking that you will go into this business, being a broker, being a um, any type of providing any type of services to the trucking industry, is brutally competitive. It's capital intensive business. Capital intensive means this business demands a lot of money. Like you need to put a lot of money to work, meaning trucking specifically, like buying trucks, hiring a driver, those kind of things. So if you talk about, is it still profitable to start a business, trucking business or independent freight dispatching business? I'm assuming, let me help you with both. Starting right now, trucking business, I don't recommend starting your business as a carrier. finding finding a truck is really easy right now nowadays. You can get finance, no problem. Then obviously the trailer type, I don't know if you're interested in refrigerated or temperature controlled freight. Maybe you're interested in a flatbed, maybe moving cars. If you're interested in moving cars, then the equipment is 100, I don't know, 300,000, 400,000, almost half a million. It's expensive. I get it. But then you need to have you like specify your market. Then obviously paperwork, then taxes, duties. You must have about 30 to 50,000 K or dollars, US dollars, to start this business. And when you start, let's say you have this cushion and you wanted to start your business, or you have this investment, you want to start your business, then not much afraid to move at this point, right? It's we like, what can I say? I'm thinking about words. Is inflation. Think about it. It's inflation. It's a let me say it's a bad market right now. Finding a load, it's hard for carriers. If you're a carrier and you know this struggle, everything expensive right now, but then loads or the freight is cheap. Some people survive in this business, some people don't, meaning carriers or business owners. And everything boils down to this one thing, is that, hey, do you know this business? Do you know how to market your business? Do you know how to connect with shippers? Um, and it's not for everybody. We talked about this. Instead, what you can do is start a freight dispatching business and connect with people that already in the business, carriers, and they need your help to move their freight. Then you can do that. Yes. And yes, we use load boards and we see, or we come up with these conclusions when we look at the what we call spot market. So think about load boards. We'll look at load boards, Truckstop or DAT or other load boards. We see that, oh, there are not much loads popping up. and we see, wow, the freight market is down. It's a bad market right now. Yes, in this case, partially agree. Why is that? Because a lot of brokers, I don't know if you watch this live training, it's on the Instagram account I have for Dispatch Trucks. I did a live with a freight broker, and she said that, hey, listen, a lot of brokers, they don't post their loads to load boards right now. One reason is that they have the carrier base. They don't want to pay, for the load board subscription. This is what I heard. They don't want to pay, and they said, okay, I have this. Remember we talked about this list of carriers, list of customers. They use their own websites, or they develop their own software or whatever, that they use in their own system to work and serve their customers. Why pay? That's what they think. That's the mentality. And you don't see not much load moving because they're not posting. But at the same time, shippers have this same analogy or the method. They don't want to post. And I heard a lot of shippers out there, they said, like, don't post my loads on load boards. Yeah, there are a lot of brokers going out of business because they're like, okay, I won't post, but then they post. And these are the things that we don't hear like on a regular basis, right? But then there are a lot of shippers, they don't want to work with, like, I don't want carriers like X, Y, and Z carriers or whatever. This segment of carriers, I don't want them to see my load. So if you have carriers, this specific type, please send them my loads. And that's basically how it works. A lot of brokers, they don't post loads. Guys, they're like directly working with their carriers. And then now market is bad. You see that when you do searching and there's not much loads popping up. At the same time, brokers now, they don't post loads on load boards. We're talking about specifically DAT load board right now, right? They don't post. If they do post, now this is a third filter. Think about a filter, right? Think about a funnel. Then third step of the funnel, when brokers post load, now they have option to say, okay, I want this load or loads, I want these loads available to these carriers, not for everybody. And if you are a freight dispatcher, if you're a carrier, if you're a not everybody, basically you don't see these loads. And these people doing business, right? They're running their business, they're making money, but you don't see it. Why is that? Well, the platform is, let's be a Truckstop or let's be a DAT load board. They serve the number one customer segment. Number one, I'm not saying that the only one customer segment, the customer that they serve, meaning DAT, serve brokers. Load boards are designed for freight brokers. Second customer segment is carriers. This is how they connect. Even if you go to the load board, the DAT load boards right now, you will see for carriers, for brokers. It used to be like for brokers, right? For brokers, for carrier, or both. You will see that. Why both? Because some brokers, they have the carrier side of their business as well. They have, like trucks, but it's a different business though. Think about, but and you're an independent freight dispatcher. If you're a newbie in the trucking, you just like invested a lot of money, you just go into this business and you see, oh wow, I spent a lot of money, but then is it profitable? I don't see like not much loads, but that's what it is, right? Now you know, right? So I hope it answers your questions. Okay, let me take this. What can we do if a broker hasn't paid for the load? Okay, that I'm assuming that you have a carrier, you are an independent freight dispatcher, you have a carrier, or you are a carrier, right? We will go in both ways. You being a freight dispatcher and maybe you are a carrier. The factoring company approved them first, but then denied later when paperwork was submitted, and now the broker and his company won't answer the call. Okay, now let's do two scenarios, right? Great question, by the way, as always. One is that you are a carrier, and the other one is like different approach, and you are a freight dispatcher working for this company. Let's say you are a freight dispatcher, and we'll go about. Let's go about. You are a carrier. You book a load for a broker. First, this is how it should go. You have a load board, and you are a carrier. Your truck is in Atlanta, Georgia, and you're searching for a load to Houston, Texas. And you call this broker and said, "Hey, I'm interested in this load, and my truck located in Atlanta, Georgia. I can pick up today or tomorrow." That's the conversation behind this, right? Now, and he says, "Yeah, are we set up?" Then if you're set up, then you're good to go, right? Rate confirmation, whatever. But then the factoring company approved. That means you did the work. You copied the MC number of the broker and go and check, or maybe you called the factoring company and said, "Hey, so and so company, will you guys approve?" Or this company approved or not. They run some quick check and said, "Oh, the credit score is good. We approved. You're good to go." That's the factoring company says. Then they denied later. They denied later means you approved, the factoring company, and I booked this load and I delivered this load. Like I picked up the load and delivered this load. The job is done. Is that what you're saying? I'm assuming yes. If that's what you're saying, then like paperwork is submitted. That's what you said. That means it's delivered. The rate confirmation and proof of delivery, meaning BOL, bill of lading, was submitted, and now the broker and his company won't answer the call. The key here is factoring company approved first, but then they denied. That means factoring company said, "Yes, you did the work," submitted paperwork to the factoring company, and now factoring company says, "No, we denied." Never had this issue before, to be honest with you. Never, ever. It's not clicking with me because if the factoring company approved this broker and later they denied, that doesn't sound right to me. Like, think about, well, you said yes, and I delivered and I submitted the rate confirmation signed by a broker, by me, by a carrier, and there is a proof of delivery. Now pay me. Like, who pays you? Factoring company pays you. Like, factoring company says, "No, we can't pay. We deny." Is that what you're saying? This doesn't sound right. But then it might happen if the factoring company says, "Well, we can't collect money from the broker." That's the problem, right? So company says, "Listen, somehow we approved, but then we can't get hold of the brokerage company. It's like we can't. They're not answering the calls. That's it, right? We can't." If they deposited money into your bank account, they have the right to get back. Now, if they didn't get, like took the money out, like took their money back, if they didn't, then they won't serve you, right? That you must pay it. Then the collections and whatever, the bad things can happen, but God forbid. But then what's happening? Like, you're talking to a factoring company. You're not calling brokers because you work with the factoring company. Why you call brokers, right? So then factoring company must do the work, call brokers. They're calling brokers and they're saying, "Hey, there's no answer." That means like something fraudulent activity is happening. And your question is, what can we do if broker hasn't paid for the load? That load is gone. As simple as that, right? So if no answer, like his company, his won't answer, it's not legit. Like, to me, like the question is how the factoring company approved them. Like, if they're not legit, if they have a good credit score, if it's a good standing, like the factoring company, they have their own system and they see that this broker is in a good standing. Like, how they're not answering the question. But I think you need to deal with the factoring company. It's something going on that I'm not clear about this. But if I were you, I will call the factoring company. For example, if I work with RTS, if I work with OTR, I will just call them and say, listen, we delivered and what's going on, guys? You approved, right? So they will say that, hey, listen, yes, we did, but then somehow it's just they gone. If they gone, it's gone. Not much you can do. But then, well, at least I will try to work with the factoring company and see how they can go about this. Okay, hope that answered your questions. Okay, let me take this. The broker company was Yellow Logistics. I never heard of them before, to be honest with you. But then, just look up this company. As I said, work with the factoring company, see what they say. Okay, let me take this. I'm happy that DAT cut you off. I get this, guys. Don't be, um, don't be, don't get angry. Okay, let's take this, relax. I know some of you just thinking, and there's a reason why I just pulled this. I don't think this person is, have this. Well, he's a subscriber, but then I'm happy that DAT cut you off. Wow. Okay. Go out there and do what you need to do in your own country. Okay. Let's work on this, guys. Let's work on both sides. I know somebody right now just like heartbeat increase. They want to just rush into and say bad things about this person, but let's work professionally. Like let's work professionally. Well, he has an idea, right? He wants to say something, and awesome. Let's talk about this. To me, like I'm also an immigrant in the United States, right? I came to this country and I'm thankful to this country. I love United States. Like even I'm not like the native, let's say, citizen, but I'm a citizen of United States. I love my country. I love United States. Now we have these people, and you know, we can have a conversation. So I'm happy that DAT cut you off. Think about when I'm talking to this person. I'm talking to this person. Think about the like how DAT fed a lot of families that were struggling, in other countries. Think how the mother and how the father, for example, were happy when they were, let's say, serving US based carriers. Carriers were happy. They delivered, they made money, carrier happy, and people overseas, they happy. There's a peace, right? Now, I really like, I have my patience. So, and like, go out there and do what you need to do in your own country. Let's say I'm in Pakistan, if I'm in India, in Canada, or in Greece, and whatever, like, and go do your own thing in your country. Think about I'm assuming you are in the United States. I'm talking to you specifically. I'm assuming you're in the United States and you're watching now. Think about why then major companies in the United States, they work specifically with other companies in other countries. I think you need to learn something called leverage, right? Think about Bank of America. Bank of America, they leverage tech support from India, from Pakistan, from Bangladesh. Think about major banks that your life depend on banks if you live in the United States. And think about 95% of the support come these other people in other countries. I don't know why you will say that you are happy, that means somebody needs to be unhappy so that you will be happy. How that goes? So that means that a lot of like war going on right now. I'm against war. That means you're happy because somebody is not happy. I never done this, but then guys, this is the reason why pull this. I think this is the problem right now in the world, right? Somebody must be unhappy, then somebody will be happy. I'm happy that DAT cut you off. You won't have money anymore. I'm happy. How that goes? Like, I have like there's no single word in a dictionary can describe what I'm feeling right now. It's really bad, right? So go do your like go do you need to do like you focus on your country, I will focus on my country. Then a lot of things that attach to your life specifically, depend on other people. There are a lot of import things can coming into the United States, like from other people. Like you have a cloth on you right now, you're watching maybe on your phone that made by other people from other country if you live in the United States. If you're watching from the computer, then that computer was built from other country by other people. If there are a lot of like in the business, I'm specifically just taking this to kind of talk about this. I'm not against this person, but then it's my show. I can say what I want, but I do have respect though, right? Respect is important. And the professionalism is important. I don't see like, do you guys see any like people watching this, listening this, like about 20 people watching right now, like 20 people, and then it will be hundreds of thousands of people will be watching this, right? The years to come, because this video will be posted, and they will see this. And I see that nobody comments like saying, hey, what do you say? Like bad words, cursing words. Nobody says that. They're just listening. That's professionalism. I applaud for that. Well, thank you. There's no bad words coming from these people that you just happy for them that DAT cut them off. They're not saying anything. They just listen. Well, they just like, man, I'm sorry that you think that way. Because we helped a lot to US based carriers. Think about these people helped a lot to US based carriers and brokers, right? And a lot of shippers moved their freight. Shippers paid a lot of taxes. Carriers paid a lot of taxes. Broker paid a lot of taxes because of these people. And you got money stayed in your country. That's the favor from these people. And they get paid a small portion. Think about it. Man, I don't know what makes you happy, but don't be happy for the people who lost something and they're not happy, and because of that you're happy. I'm against that. I'm a human being, and I imagine I got a lot of people like my friends that watching right now. I do see names that watching this, and they know me. They know that I'm a people person. I like. I don't like these types of things, man. Be honest with you. You are a subscriber, and I really want you to unsubscribe and don't follow me, because if that if somebody unhappy and that makes you happy, then we're not friends. Because if I'm not happy, that means you will be happy, and how that works, right? So I think the humanity is all about it's giving, right? If you give, then you receive, right? So if you give, that means the given it makes you happy. So if you're not a giver, then obviously you're not a receiver. So if you're not a receiver, my friend, then you're not happy. So okay, let's see. Let me take this. Marco says negatively is at the all-time high. Okay, it's not just against other countries. Okay, well, I agree with you. Like, there are some negative people out there, like negative thinkers, whatever. But then, okay, let's continue. Okay, so let me take this. Let me take this. Can I get DAT access under name of my relative living in the US? Well, that's a great question. And I had these questions a lot. But think about if your relative in the United States and you're outside the United States, they will have access, no problem. They will get access, no problem, right? But then you will be accessing load board overseas. This is where the problem comes into play. So you cannot access. That's what they said. Well, I'm just representing um, the DAT and then whatever they said, right? And I'm sharing with you guys. It basically says that only U.S. citizens are allowed to access DAT. They have a right to say that, right? Because there are a lot of bad things happened because of bad people around the world, right? They try to harm this load board. Hackers try to attack. They must protect their business, right? I totally understand this, and not much we can do. And if your relative lives in the United States, you're outside the United States, they will have access, but you won't because you will be accessing the load board from other country. Think about like what are my alternatives. Think about that way. So if the DAT is now denying access, blocking people, then think like what would be the alternative, right? Okay, that is gone. It's gone. It's okay. Like move on. What's next, for example? Okay. So let me take this. Okay, we don't need people outside my country. Immigrants working as this. Guys, again, uh, this is the reason. Like there is a reason I'm like taking his um questions. What is it? No, not questions, but then just the statement. We don't need people outside my country. Who we are those we agree with you, or it's just like out of your mind? Like, do you think like we like how many like are you like United States is huge. I don't think everybody agrees with you. Like I don't think so. I don't think so. Like people outside my country, like immigrants. When you say immigrants, like man, United States, like like go and do some research about the United States. It's immigrants country, buddy. You just think about that way. What do you mean? Like no immigrants. Okay, working as a dispatchers or a truck drivers. Okay, why? Why is that? Like, and please say like I don't want people outside my country. Don't say we because when you say we means me too. Like I'm a US citizen too. Okay? So if you say we, I don't agree with you, and the majority, I don't think will be, agree with you as well. But then you have rights to say freedom of speech, my friend. You can say whatever you want. But then as you can see, I have respect. I just take your whatever the statements you have to the world. I just take that. It's okay. But then think positively. Let's go. Now, Regina says why they decided to block accounts. I think I mentioned a couple of times, but I'll mention it. I do see and apologize. You did post your questions earlier, but I think I already covered it. This is because of the fraudulent activities, from some other peoples from other countries, kind of, attacking their, their system, and this is why they're blocking accounts. And this is what they see, that majority of this harmful activities, fraudulent activities coming from other countries. They're not naming them, but they said outside the United States, and now they're kind of protecting. Okay. So Mohammed says, and then use VPN. Don't use VPN. Like it's basically what you're doing is just like, yes, you covering up yourself. I said it this already in my previous training is that, man, they will find you anyway. I think with the VPN, you will expose yourself really fast. So if you're using DAT right now, use it and leverage it. But if you don't, if you start using VPN, then they will just block you forever and then you won't have access. Don't do that. It's if like you will have a problem anyway, right? So you will have an access, but then you will have some problems. They will catch you and then block you. You don't need that, right? So find out some other ways. I don't know. Think about what if some like database out there that they will just put your company name or whatever, like you're accessing from one country and you showing that you're accessing from different country, and then they will blocklist your country. Don't do that. You don't need that. Like, think about DAT is gone. That's it. Like, just accept that it's and move on. Like, think like abundance. Like, what would be the alternative? Okay, let me think. Let's say, great picture, by the way. What's your suggestion on select this load board for truck? I mean, for the box truck. I heard that it's expensive, but then not. I'm not familiar with that load board because I'm not into box truck. But I heard that a lot of people used in the past, but now they kind of increase the price. It's expensive and not many people using it. That's what I heard. Okay, let me check this. It was checked through the portal. Okay, a portal meaning the what is it? The factoring company gave you the portal and you check that. Okay, and showed approved, but then they said the broker is outside of a business and we having issue with them. There you go. Basically, what happened? The broker got the money, just bankrupt, and it just disappeared. Then money is gone. That's basically what I assumed. But yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so okay, let me. What about a change IP address? So basically, IP address changing the VPN, and I'm pretty sure that the compliance team, DAT compliance team, I think if you use VPN, it will be you'll expose yourself, and it will easily find out. I think they have some system that okay, this person using the VPN, boom, blocked. Okay, so be like like I'm a legit, right? I work with DAT, and then like load boards, and I'm accessing load boards. I'm using load board to train my students. And what happened when I travel, and it's like I don't have access. Access denied. I was like, wow, what is it? And I start, okay, before calling, let me use VPN. I like start using VPN, and it's like, man, I'm accessing, but the next day blocked completely. I see some kind of code, and I'm not. I'm like, I'm not tech guy, and I saw something like I don't know numbers, like it was very confusing for me. Then I emailed and I said, okay, I'm traveling, and they said don't use VPN. So if you're using VPN, changing IP address, you will be easy to caught. That's what it is. And again, I don't understand this. If DAT is gone, then look for alternatives. Like you can't do much about this. Think about it. You will be using VPN. You will build your business. You will invest money. You will do like marketing. Will spend some marketing. And you're using VPN. Boom. They got you and then blocked, access denied. Now what? Right? Just like build your business. Like the foundation should be strong, and don't build a business based on load boards. The load boards, like think about tools, right? It's one tool is gone. Can you use a different tool? Think about it that way. Okay. Now, let me take this. Fly, fly with Alex. Let's say this alternative. Okay, what is a good alternative? Truckstop maybe if they allow this. Well, if they allow this, meaning you're outside the United States and you're not using DAT, DAT is gone. Now you're thinking using truckstop.com is another load board platform. If they allow to access from other country, I heard that yes, they're allowing, but it's not built for dispatchers. I don't think they're kind of dispatcher friendly. This is what I was looking for. They're not dispatch friendly. That's what it is. The truck stop. Can we use them as a dispatcher? I think I answered your question already. Okay, let me take this. Mohammed says, how they block some specific countries or everyone outside the US, that's a question for compliance team. I have no idea. But if you say why they're doing it, well, because of the fraudulent activities come from other countries, as you said, how they blocked some specific countries or everyone outside the US, I have no idea. Right? As I said, I'm not a tech guy. So that's the question for compliance team. I don't think they will share how they blocked. I would say maybe they will say how they found out about this. Maybe they share with you some information, but then it's gone. It's gone. That's it. That's what they say. Okay. Will this affect people in the United States? Blocking the account won't. Well, if you do some fraudulent activities inside the United States, then they will block you. But other than that, how this changes will affect, well, if you're an independent freight dispatcher and you are in the United States, then you must have a carrier before signing up, because if you sign up, then they will ask a question saying, okay, do you have a carrier? So if you don't, then obviously we can help you.